funny, cool stuff. Lots of like little gimmicky things. Like there's a Wheat Bix box with like Craig Lowndes on it.
Are you a nerd for that kind of stuff?
Like I think this is really awesome. Would I have this in my room? Probably not. I think I've grown up now.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
How have you been anyway, man? It's been
Yeah,
a while.
good. Yeah. So
Busy?
I can see you're a fan of the Tickford there.
Yeah, I didn't have any HRT 888 stuff, so I thought I'd still have to rock a Supercar shirt for the pod, but
I wore a plain T-shirt out of respect, mate, because I respect. So I'm not wearing any allegiances.
Yeah.
You know, I'm professional. Yeah, that's right.
Please, I'm the one that wrote all the questions, mate.
How long have you guys been doing the podcast for?
Literally since the Russian Grand Prix last year. So we mate, when we were watching the races, we had like a group chat going on.
Yeah.
And it used to just get annoying, like fucking trying to watch the race and then you're chatting to everyone at the same time. And then one of my mates just said, dude, let's just start a podcast like for 2022. And I said, nah, I said, if you're going to start one, like you need to put the effort into it. Like me and Joe tried to start one a couple of years ago and it just fizzled because I flaked on it.
Yeah.
And then he came back to me a week later and said, no, I want to start a podcast. I said, all right, let's start next week after the Grand Prix. So that way, by the time we hit 2022, we've had a bit of practice. And then we literally just started like after that race and we've done 20 episodes now. So it's going slow, but.
And so is every episode an interview?
No, so some of them are just like race reviews. So we've been reviewing Formula One, Supercars and MotoGP as well. But then we've had a few interviews with Joey Mawson, the S5000 driver, Aaron Cameron, and then we had an interview with a MotoGP or Moto3 team director, but then he flaked on us just before Christmas as well. So, so yeah, we're just trying to do a bit of both. Anything to really just put up more content.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty. And is that like, are you trying to aim for that? Is that going to be like a full-time thing for you guys, or is this it's obviously just a side hustle? And
yeah, we just like it. Like we're spending money on it. To be honest with you, just like to get like people aware of it. Like the other bloke that is part of it, my mate from work, he has ambitions of making it like a full-time thing, but I don't know. The reality is you're gonna have to work pretty hard for it, and we just like doing it because we talk anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It might not be for another 5 years or something before you get the fan base.
At least.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mate, you might have Jamie Whincup the job by the time we make some money on this podcast.
So yeah, like we don't have really any expectations, to be honest with you. We just enjoy it. We like putting it up.
Well, that's the right way to go about it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And it's been working so far.
Yeah, okay.
So let's jump into it because we don't want to waste too much of your time.
Okay.
But Mr. James Xiberras, Junior Design Engineer for 888 Engineering.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back to that point in a second, but just to begin with, like let's start from the very beginning. What's your story with supercars? I mean, how long you've been interested? How did you get into that position? How did you get, really incorporated with the most productive company in the sport and in its history?
Do you want the long story or the short story?
Give us the long story if you've got time.
Oh, okay. Well, like I've always kind of liked motorsport, like, watching Bathurst, and I was always a big HRT fan, like the Mark Scaife car, like the Golden Child, that sort of thing. Like that was like on my wall as a kid. So I've always fancied it, but I actually didn't think that there was so much involved in it, to be honest. So I, in high school, I liked maths and physics. So I kind of put those two together and worked out that engineering is a good career where you're utilizing those two fields. So I started doing engineering, and I didn't really have any interest I didn't know what I wanted to do within engineering. So I started with mechanical. But then, as I got towards my third year, I was like, okay, I need to start getting work experience and that sort of thing. And I didn't really have any specific interest. Like I used to apply for internships at SpaceX, for example, but they wouldn't allow that because you have to have at least a citizenship or some sort of some sort of citizenship or something like that.
But you went stateside, didn't you, for a little bit?
Stateside?
Did you go to the States for a little bit?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So that's one thing. So I studied in Sydney. I studied in Western Sydney University, and that was my Bachelor of Engineering. And then part of that degree, I got an opportunity to go overseas, and I studied at Sacramento, California State University. So that was an awesome experience in itself, and that was actually part of my degree. So like 3 of the classes that I did there were engineering subjects, and then one was just a carry on.
Yeah.
So did that. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I was like interested in rockets and just lots of cool things that most blokes would be interested in. So I didn't really know what to do, and so I just applied for lots of different things. And then someone at my mum's work actually said to me, "Hey James, there's this really cool international like tour, is it what you might call it? It's educational based." So what it was it's called REA, Re-Engineering Australia STEM World Tour, Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics. So it was a world tour where they took us through America and Europe, and we got to visit like some of the coolest engineering companies in the world. Like we went to Boeing in Seattle, and we went to Google in America. We went to Detroit and saw the Ford factories there. We went to the UK and saw Williams F1. So it was like a tour where we got to see like some pretty cool like aviation, motorsports, manufacturing, software, like just as an engineer, like this is ridiculous. And I couldn't believe that I snagged up that opportunity.
It was like a crash course for what you can do with your degree kind of thing.
Yeah, so you know how you've got like at high school the career day or whatever, you go to university and you can like there's all the little stalls. Well, this is like the big version of that.
Yeah.
World's most expensive career day.
Yeah, it was probably about, I don't know, it's pretty expensive. I think it was like it was in the thousands. Like it could have been between 5,000 and 10,000 for the whole trip.
Yeah.
But luckily I got my university to pay for half of it because it was education. So it was considered as educational traveling. So I really took advantage of that, and then went and did it. And so that was while I was studying, and I walked into Williams F1. I actually got to meet Frank William too before he passed. So I saw him there as we were just walking around the campus, and he was just standing there with some guy, and I looked over and I was like, "Oh, dude, that's him. Like that's Frank William." And no one else noticed. And then
mate, he wasn't standing there; he was sitting there.
Yeah, he was sitting there. Sorry. And then I looked over and I was like, I've got to take up this opportunity. I just ran over to him, and I thought I was some sort of like terrorist. God, what the hell is this kid gonna do? Right? And so the guy like standing next to him sort of like tensed up a little bit, but I was just like, shook his hand. I was like, look, I just wanted to say hello, and it's lovely to meet you, and whatever. I just appreciate what he's done. But that day there was probably the turning point for me, because I walked into like the factory and what they do there, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do now. Like I set my eyes on motorsport, and particularly F1, but at the same time I was open to anything. So that was like, from then on it was like I started applying for jobs in F1, and I did actually also apply for like a work experience here at AAA. But that was also like at the time they just didn't do anything, so I kind of just got rejected. Like, yeah, sorry, we don't do anything like work experience wise or whatever. And I think that's just because they probably get like hundreds of applications of people inquiring, can I do work experience? Like I remember like throughout the time that I've been here, I've had like a few people that I've ran into where they've come up the stairs and handed in their resume and said, "Oh, could you pass this along?" So I really admire that, because they're just putting themselves out there, because they're the ones that are going to stand out. But yeah, it's quite it's like a congested field. A lot of people
very niche, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. And it's an industry where you really got to either already be involved in it or know someone.
Yeah.
To some degree, you got to be.
Sorry, keep going, man.
That's all right. Yeah, you got to be either doing something in a different field and have some sort of experience, or just be lucky enough to be friends with someone, or word of mouth, or just the right opportunity that might be presented to you. Like, you might be able to get through the front door if there's something and you happen to tick all the boxes. But I think most of the time it's through word of mouth and connections and that sort of thing. So I just kept applying for different places and doing different things. And it wasn't till I actually, the person who built my mum and dad's house, I went and saw him for, I don't know if I should tell you the full story, but I wanted to get a dog. And mum was like, well, we need to get a front gate. So I designed a front gate for our house, because it's been like 3 years in this new house and we didn't have a front gate. So I was like, well, all right, I'll design a gate and then we'll get it built. So I went to the builder and said, look, have you got any people that can contract and build this gate? And then the builder, he's a really interesting character. He didn't have any interest in what I had to show him. He just wanted to chat with me and just see how I am. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm doing engineering and stuff. And he goes, what do you want to get to? I was like, oh, I like motorsport. He goes, oh, okay. And then he just said to me, oh, would Supercars help you? I said, oh, yeah. Why do you ask? And he goes, oh, Annie, my secretary, she's cousins with David Couchy. And I was like, oh, get F. It's not like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what? So then I was like, oh, okay. I had like these little business cards I used to hand out. I actually made them for that Europe trip. So I just figured, like, if I'm going around to all these companies, I made this like stainless steel like business cards that had my name on it, and email and LinkedIn and all that sort of stuff, just to like get them to remember me. So I gave her like a handful of those and said, just pass this along and give him my contact number or whatever. I'd love to have a chat with him. She's like, yeah. So she spoke to his father, and then he obviously spoke to him, and then I had his number, gave him a call, and we just stayed in contact for about quite a while. It was months that we just stayed in contact, trying to sort of work out, because he was like, yeah, we can try and do something. And it just took a lot of persistence. And at one point I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to work out, because I was just trying to get some work experience, or just get something to get my foot in the door. Just a
foot in the door, yeah.
Yeah, anything. But luckily, so my dad, obviously, I don't know if you guys know, he does Top Fuel drive, like drag racing.
Definitely know now.
Yeah. Probably know now because he's a bit more well known in this world. So I think we were testing one weekend, and so I just texted Couchy and said, look, like, I'm going to be up here in Queensland, like, let me know if we can meet up or something. And he goes, yeah, all right. So let me know what days. So I texted him, these are the days. Sunday afternoon, I'm free all Sunday afternoon if I can swing. I think it was Monday. It was probably Monday. I don't think he would have been at work on Sunday. So yeah, Monday afternoon, I was flying home, and I was just waiting for him to text me back saying, yeah, come at this time or whatever. So Monday afternoon rolls around, and it's getting pretty close to departure. And I was like, look, I'll delay the flight, I'll change the flight, whatever, like, just let me know. And I was still waiting for him, and I didn't find out. So I was like, oh, gosh. Are you serious? So I got on the plane and flew back down to Sydney. Actually, no, scratch that. It was in the morning, not the afternoon. Yeah. So I get to Sydney, and then I turn my phone back on, and he texts me going, hey, mate, he's still around. Like, when you want to come around to the shop? And I was like, you're kidding me. Like, you couldn't have done this like yesterday when I texted you. You knew I was leaving anyway. So I was like, what am I going to do? And Mum was like, just go back. I was like, you serious? She goes, yeah. And Dad was like, oh, I don't know. You're going to spend $500 on a return ticket, like, just to meet with someone for 5 minutes. Like, that's a lot of money just to meet with someone. So I was like, oh, I don't know. This is one of those times I knew to myself, I was like, this is one of those times where you just got to do it. You just got to take the risk and so I just flew back. As soon as I walked out the gate, I went straight to the reception or whatever you call it, and bought myself a ticket and flew back to Brisbane. And I texted him, I said, oh yeah, I'll be there this afternoon. He goes, oh, what time? I was like, oh yeah, maybe like 4 o'clock. He goes, oh, you can't come any earlier? And I was like, look, mate, I'm trying. I'll be there as soon as I can. I promise you that. Because I didn't tell him that I was
You flew back.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to tell him because I didn't want him to go, oh, yeah, we'll schedule it for another time.
Yeah.
Because then another time will be like another 3 months later. So I was like, no, it's got to be now. Let's just do it.
When did you tell him?
I told him probably about a year or so, a couple of years later when I actually was working here. So they had no idea that I did that.
Yeah.
So I just turned up and had my backpack on and just pretended like I'd been up here the whole time. Not that I've been on planes for half the day.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then how long till you got the job?
Well, so that wasn't even like an interview or anything. That was just like to see like a tour of the place. Yeah. So I saw the place and I walked in the building. I was like, oh my God. Like you walk in the front door and up the stairs and there's just trophies everywhere. Like it's unbelievable. It should be a crime because they've stolen all the trophies from everyone else or something. There's that many trophies. Yeah, I was just blown away. I was just like, this is the coolest place I've probably seen in Australia, like at least, you know. Yeah. And so I was like, right, that's it. Like I'm getting a job here. Whatever I have to do. Like I was really set on it.
I'll clean toilets for you. Just let me in.
Yeah, exactly. I'll sweep the floor. Whatever you want me to do, just let me in.
Can I cut you off for a second?
Sorry,
just for a second. That feeling of walking into the factory and seeing all the trophies, like that awesome feeling, like of seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Do you still get that now when you walk into the building?
You gotta pay attention to it. Yeah. Because it just easily becomes like everything else on the walls, you know, you just don't notice it.
Yeah.
And also like at this point now, like I'm just so focused on the job and just getting the work done that you walk in there, your mind, as soon as you walk in the building, your mind turns on and you're already thinking about what you're doing yesterday and what you got to do today and where this is at and, you know, that sort of thing. So you can quite easily forget like the history behind like within the walls of this building.
Yeah.
And also just like the magnitude of like, you know, what we do here and sometimes you got to remember like my reaction back then because it can quite easily like you sort of forget that appreciation or that gratitude or whatever it might be, you know, I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's even similar for like just as a fan. Like I follow Walkinshaw because I used to follow the Holden racing team.
Yeah.
And once upon a time, getting wins was what you did on Sunday. You know what I mean? And you just got used to it. And then after about a 6-year drought of no wins because Triple Eight came along and started swallowing them up. Yeah. I think it would have been about 4 years, and I had a win on my wedding day, and I was spewing because I didn't get to watch it. I was
Australian
like, man, they had to win on my wedding day. I didn't even get to watch the race. And then I was like, all right, it's the start of new things. Like we're going to get a win sometime this year. And there was another 3 years till another one. I was like, damn it, like this. I understand what it feels to go for, like to be a fan of a struggling team. But I mean, for you, it's probably like the opposite. Like, what is it between Win Cup and Lowndes? There's probably nearly 270 wins, and then Gizzard's got another 50, I think. Probably got 300 and something wins.
Yeah, I was there for the 300th win. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah, but the numbers are staggering. Like,
but I mean, like for like that's like your bread and butter. Like if you're not winning, like if Triple Eight as a team isn't winning, like something's not right. Like winning is their norm. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what they've set themselves.
Yeah. And it's pretty remarkable that they've been able to just maintain that for so long too. Like, because everyone goes through changes in staff and drivers and you know different eras of like car manufacturers and that sort of thing, and to be still dominant throughout you know the last decade of racing, it's pretty impressive.
And they did most of it not as a factory team. That's the part that I think people forget. Yeah. Like when they started, they were a privateer, and they pretty much lost their Ford backing, and then they went to Holden because of Ford cutting their costs, and then they were so good that they cut HRT's Holden.
We knocked them off their perch.
Well, they were doing nothing, mate. They won a Sandown, and they were good at Bathurst and Clipsal every year, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you give it to AAA?
Yeah. Also, too, I think like especially our engineering capabilities, that's like over the years that's stepped up massively, and so as a well, especially for the ZB Commodore, like we're the homologation team, so we were really like the brains trust behind it, and obviously the part supplier for all the body work and a lot of the hardware underneath that. So I think that's probably a lot got to do with a lot of it as well. Is just like how much investment we have in the engineering and science behind everything.
Will you guys be the same for the Camaros next year as well?
In terms of providing like parts? I'm not actually too sure, to be honest. I think the way it's been working, I don't know if hopefully I don't say the wrong thing here, but we've been contracting to the Supercars in a way. So our engineering services we're providing to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that means that they own the rights to everything.
IP.
Yeah. Is it am I right to say that even your is it your engine builder that's doing all the Chevy engines now, just like the Mustangs is all with
Tech, is it?
Dick Johnson's engine builder? Is it like?
Yes, that's right. So we work with KRE Race Engineering, so then they work with
Tech. Is it Tech?
What'd you say?
Is it Tech?
Yeah, I think that might be it. Or is it
Mostech, maybe one of them. Yeah, Mostech.
Yeah, Mostech Racing. Yeah. So he will be like KRE will be the supplier for all of the. There'll be only two suppliers, one for Ford, one for Holden, and then obviously if there's a third manufacturer that comes in, then they might have a third one.
Yeah.
So for you on a daily basis, like you're a junior design engineer, what does your job entail every day?
Right now, obviously, we have like a lot of work going on with the Gen 3 design. So my work, is pretty much like, I'd say 99% of the time now is just designing and drawing parts for all the changes that are going on with Gen 3. So, like as we speak, we're working on the shifter modification. So trying to fit and package the shifter and the ARB adjusters into the car, because originally we're trying to go for the paddle shift and have electronic roll bars and that sort of thing. So as a vote by Supercars and the board and the committee and fans' response and that sort of thing, they decided to change that, and they said, look, we want to stick with this classic stick shift. And so we've got to like adjust everything and move everything around and make new parts, and it's a big process. So we're redesigning that. We're adjusting things to make sure that ergonomics are correct in the car. So that means adjusting the chassis, and it's all like tight deadlines, because we still need to make sure that we test this prototype continually, like once we make all these changes, and then also start producing cars for next year. So it's only February, but there's not a lot of time to get all that done, like I don't think.
I was thinking, with the development of like the Gen 3, right? 888, they've got their race team that they're working on. Well, you've got your race team. You're still supplying parts for all the other teams this year, and then you're developing the Gen 3 car. Did you have to expand the workforce at all, or it's just people are having to work that much harder to get it all done?
This year we've expanded quite a lot, like especially now that we're also the distributor for all of AMG in Australia. So so we're now the licensed distributor for AMG in Australia, just for all the parts for the GT cars. Because we run I think one or two, maybe
GT3.
You run what, Prince Jaffa's car in the Asian, what is it? Asian
that's right.
Championship.
So we do that as well. So we've had people expand in that sort of area. There's been a lot of new data engineers and design engineers, and what else we've had, and also we've actually put on another student too, who's also working with the robotics side of things. So we recently purchased like a robotic welder we want to try and do mass manufacturing using robotic technology for the chassis now.
Did you make him fly up from Sydney twice to get the job?
No, I don't think so. And I don't think that's very fair, to be honest. I think that should be the standard from now on.
All right, I've got another prying
Now,
question.
let me ask him a question quickly because you keep cutting me off.
Right.
With now this Gen 3 car that's coming through, you're saying you're designing like the placement for the gear shifter and all that stuff into the car. Will that be so? What will your design be in the place of like every car on the grid next year, or will teams still have the ability to sort of change stuff up in terms of like because at the moment, what is it? Most teams still have very like different cockpit layouts and stuff. Will that be the same next year, or will it all be cookie cutter kind of stuff?
Well, yeah. So next year with the Gen 3, it's going to be very much more closely homologated. Like there's a lot of once the car is fully designed, there's really not going to be a lot more work for us once it's completed because it's we don't want things to be changing so often because it's all about cost cutting. So we want the sport to be much more financially like feasible.
Yeah.
Trying to reduce all those costs is part of the core of the Gen 3 platform is cost cutting. So with all that adjuster stuff, I think I'm pretty sure it'll be the same across like all manufacturers, and it will just have full adjustability. So like as a driver, they should have full ergonomic adjustability for what they need, but it'll be the same bracketry hardware and system setup and sensors and like all that.
It will literally be very much like buying a GT3 car, like out of the box. It's pretty much set up how it is, and then you sort of change your dials and setup. But in terms of like what you buy, it's pretty much ready to go, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like there's still a fair few key differences between the GT3. Like you have to remember these are cars that are built from ground up. They're not just a road car converted to a race car.
Yeah.
Like that's like with our Mercedes, it's all road car parts and it's all bought from Mercedes themselves. Okay. Whereas this is all built from the ground up. So there's a lot more elements of racing put into it in terms of like rebuilding and the way it goes together, how fast you can build it and repair it, and how cost effective it is. Like one of the biggest changes in Gen 3 that we have is the ability to take the front and rear clips off, or the front and rear subframe. So you can essentially pull the whole front subframe off if you have an impact or crash, and stick a new one on theoretically, and go racing again. It should be a faster turnaround time and hopefully more cost effective too, because it's a sacrificial part in itself.
I suppose if you like, that's really like if you have a crash at Bathurst on the Saturday, you're not out of the race.
That's like right.
If your frame is then.
Whereas if you were racing a GT car, that's it. That's your day done. Okay. So like I think that's what you got to sort of remember here is like those road cars, they're built not to have they're built not for racing.
They're built for gentleman racing.
They're not built for sort of sustaining a big impact and then you're getting it ready for the next day. Like that's I don't know if I've ever seen that or not, but these cars, they're designed for that sort of thing. So if you suffer an impact the next morning, the boys late at night can get the job done to go racing back again.
And was that idea like at the core of the whole, like when the ideas of Gen 3 came through? I'm guessing that was really at the start of it. Like we wanted to be able to pull it apart quick. Together quick. That's really interesting.
So it's pretty cool because now the chassis is sort of split up into three major components: your center section and then your front and your rear. And so it's kind of cool seeing how like everything then attaches to those sub assemblies and how it all goes together using like a little like cone housing system. So there's like 6 like key points that the car goes onto. That's all from the start.
So will each team be able to build, like will they be able to build like their parts themselves after that, or will that all come through you or a third party like supplier?
To be honest, I'm not sure about that one.
Sure?
I'm pretty sure that I don't think we're going to be just the ones making all the parts.
Okay, because that'd be a big job.
No, I don't think so. I think I'd like to think that we hopefully will end up making most of the chassis, at least for the Holdens.
Yeah.
Chev, sorry.
The Chevys, mate. Come on, mate. Chevy.
Yeah. I just don't want to stop saying Holden. I miss it. Yeah, especially with our investment too, in terms of the manufacturing facilities that we have now. So we want to utilize those as much as possible. So I think it'd be a big dilemma if we weren't making a lot of chassis. But in terms of, the rest of the parts, I think that's all. I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's up in the air. I think they might be able to do something like what they've done in the past, where you sort of bid for contracts to supply for the rest of the teams.
Yeah.
But I mean, like in the past and currently with ZB stuff, we really supply like a big bulk of the hardware to people.
James, I think what we're seeing with supercars is pretty similar to what we're seeing in a lot of other motorsport around the world right now, with like the cost-cutting measures. And we've obviously just seen that implemented in Formula One this year. And some of the talking around Formula One has been with essentially cars becoming, I don't know if simple is the word, but essentially trying to make them more affordable and cheaper. People are saying a manufacturer is going to kind of put some of their resources into other racing categories, like, Ferrari are going to Le Mans now with hypercar. With supercars kind of taking a similar approach and the cost-cutting measures, will there be most likely a reallocation of staff potentially to other projects, just because, the technology is getting simpler, and it's kind of becoming a little bit less bespoke?
Yeah, it's funny, that whole concept it's quite interesting, because you can make the cars simpler in a way, but if you've still got the resources and the cash to spend, and you can't spend it directly, then you're going to spend it indirectly. So, one example is like if there's less sensors on the car, then you might not be looking at as much data, but you'll still be then investing a lot more time into simulating, so you can try and work out what the car is doing in these sort of scenarios, just based off what data that you do have available. So you're sort of trying to compensate for a lack of a sensor or lack of live data. And I can see that happening like in Formula One. Like, even though Ferrari will probably be investing in other sports and that sort of thing. And there might be cost caps and that sort of thing, but they're still going to, if there's money that they have there to spend, they'll spend it in other ways to make use of it. And it'll be just quite creative in terms of what they come up with. This is like, even I remember hearing about how Mercedes F1 were developing their own microchips with Intel to speed up their simulation time. So if you had like an allocated simulation time that you can use for CFD, they were developing faster processors, so that way they could do it in faster time, and then therefore they can simulate more.
Yeah, wow.
So like
just money spent in different ways, but for the same things.
And also like they'll just be sneaky in terms of like spending it on other categories, and then testing, using that opportunity as an opportunity to test new components and uprights and sensors and whatever else. So that'll, you sort of see. I think those, I suppose for us, we will still retain like probably the same amount of staff. It'll just be working on, like you said, probably different projects, especially for like designing. Like I said before, once Gen 3 gets designed, we're going to have to start working on other things for me to keep a job. Like I'm going to need to keep designing something, because that's what I want to do. So there's different avenues that are in the pipe works at the moment. I'm probably not allowed to talk about it, but we're going to be trying to utilize all the new hardware that we have and manufacture things. So
you need another COVID outbreak so you can make some more respirators.
More ventilators and that sort of thing.
One thing I thought was I really liked with 888 was, even when they like you guys designed that whole V6 engine for the supercars a couple years back, and even though it was never used, like I really loved that. Well, number one, I loved how they put it in that Sandman, because it sounded awesome. Like it was even though the consensus was people didn't want to go to that V6 turbo, like the whole, I would have loved to see it like run, just to see like how it would have worked in terms of parity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I suppose as a company, you've got that history of really sort of pushing the envelope with cool stuff like that. Like I suppose it's a lot of Red Bull teams around, like even the F1 team, like they do a lot of cool stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely think you guys will find something. I'm sure there's stuff in the pipeline really that you know about that you can't talk about anyway.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to do that. Like, to be honest, just like you have to, as a business, like this is beside motorsport put aside, any business has to keep chasing up new work and trying new things and continuing to develop. Like if you just stick to the one product and that's all you do, and you quickly get eaten up by the competition and that sort of thing. So as an engineering company and selling products, we will just continue to make other things and to just push the boundaries of what we can do here and what we can make.
I even read this week that the new owners of Williams said that Williams is now more of an engineering company than it is an F1 team, which I thought was really interesting.
Especially their advanced engineering sector. I think that's just been, since it started, it's just been growing and growing and growing. And it's pretty cool to see how that sort of technology that gets transferred into road cars and that sort of thing. I'm sure they probably invest millions and millions into all their hybrid technology and
I'm pretty sure that Williams are
a lot of Formula E work.
Doing the all the Formula E battery work now, isn't it? At least it was for Jaguar, but it might be for everyone now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
Yeah.
James, I'm going to throw you another curveball, slightly off tack now.
Okay.
Slightly different. So over the last couple of years, particularly the last 18 months, Triple Eight has changed in management structure quite dramatically.
Yep.
And when we look at the wall behind you, all of that development pretty much took place under, Roland Dane, right? And his leadership now, he's kind of taking a little bit of a back seat now. Jamie Whincup's come into management. You've got Tony Quinn, is it, on board as a?
Yep. So he's a major shareholder.
Yeah. So how, if or at all, has that changed?
And also, you've lost a few people.
Yeah, we've lost a few key people as well, like David Couchy, the man who brought me here.
Major.
Disappointed about that. He's departed. Wes, who was Jamie's engineer last year, he stopped working for us for his own personal health reasons.
Yeah.
We've had there's been quite a few big shifts in structure and management and that sort of thing. With regards to Roland, don't doubt it. He's still in the background, believe it or not, and I've seen him around. So he's still keeping a close eye on the company, and I would too. Like, regardless of if you're going to retire or not, this is his baby, and he's raised it to what it is today. And I'm sure he's going to want to keep an overwatch and come in and provide advice and that sort of thing. And there hasn't, in terms of changes for work here, things haven't been drastically changed at the moment. I think Jamie's approach is to, for the first year or so, just keep the business rolling as it is. If it's not broke, don't fix it, sort of thing. Yeah. And then I suppose he's going to come in with a fresh set of eyes and go, okay, let's update this and we think we can do this better. So he's going to provide a fresh set of eyes to hopefully just improve a few areas in the company. But right for now, it's sort of running as business as usual as it was last year. Like, the only difference is Roland's not sitting in the big seat.
Do you know what? You know what actually excites me? For the odd occasion when Roland wasn't at the race meeting, there used to be hiccups that used to occur at times, like when the headmaster was away. So that was a good chance for all the other teams to kind of catch a break every now and then. So I'm hoping that in 2022 it comes a little bit more of a common thing. But we'll see what happens.
I'm excited for this season. Especially with Walkinshaw stepping up the way that they have. Cameron Waters, he's just doing brilliantly at the moment. There's so much competition going on. It's going to be really, really good racing, I think.
Yeah, I think
just quickly, does that does that what you just said motivate you guys to get to work after a weekend like that, knowing that you have teams like Walkinshaw sort of finally woken up from their slumber And even like teams like Erebus, who last year sort of took a massive step up, even though they had 2 rookie drivers. Like, does that, I mean, I suppose you guys are professionals and you're coming to work do your job no matter what, but does that just sort of give you a bit more sort of,
it's more personal.
I don't know, yeah, just a bit more drive, because you know that these teams are sort of snapping at the heels a little bit?
Yeah, I suppose beneath
maybe more
everything,
for the race
maybe
team.
beneath everything, there's a little bit of that, but I don't really see it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's just because it's like what drives us is the systems that we have in place. Yeah. So, like, regardless of if you've won and you got first and second in the race or you came last, our approach to like analyzing and deconstructing the race and who did what happened when, and why this worked or why this didn't work happens regardless. So I think that's part of like Triple Eight's success, is their systems and how they go about sort of reviewing things and like then trying to work out what happened. So I'm losing my thought here. Just in terms of like systems in place.
They were always the benchmark, like for all the little things. Like they were always the benchmark. Like even like just perfecting pit stops. They were like the first team to really do it professionally. And then I think even like when Jamie and Craig were there together, they really got their like the whole team orders thing down pat, and you'd never really have sort of problems with cars running into each other. So like I suppose
that was until SMP last year though.
Yeah.
Sure there was an incident in Tasmania as well.
Mate.
There was an incident in Tasmania as well.
Like even stuff like just the way they even professionalized like race strategy. Like no matter where they started on the grid, you always knew that they were going to come up with the best strategy to maximize the sort of their finishing position. And so you'd see sort of every other team sort of follow the same sort of race strategy, and you'd think, and then Triple Eight would throw this curveball, and you'd be like, how come, like, you're all professionals, how come this is the only team who can work this shit out? Like, it used to frustrate me like that. I was like, Walkinshaw, pull your heads out, like just copy their race strategy and you'll come second, like third and fourth every week, and just do something like that.
If you ask me like exactly why, it's hard to really pinpoint what it is we're doing differently to everyone else. Or
is it just the leadership, you reckon, like just the structures of leadership they've implemented?
Yeah, I mean, like, and there's just some really good people here, like some really talented, smart people, like working under Jeremy Moore, who's our technical director, and he works for Porsche, LMP, and, spearheaded that whole project. And, they've won so many things there and so successful. So he's come back on board, and he's really driving like the technical direction of what we're doing and how much stuff we're investing in, what we're investing in. We've still got him, and obviously Mark, who's holding as leadership for everyone. Sort of, he's keeping us together, and so like there's still a lot of pretty amazing people that are still here, and all those processes are still here. So that's why I think they sort of just build on top of that, and we also try to, I suppose, raise people from beginners to like our level leaders, as well. Like in terms of mechanics and stuff, like we've seen mechanics come through that, like, one person here, his name's Jordan. When he first stepped in, he had never worked on a race car at all in his life, and now he's the #1 mechanic for Brock's car, Brock Feeney's car. So we sort of we really try to invest in bringing up like staff to the Triple Eight way, I suppose, and I think that sort of really helps fuse like a certain culture and DNA to everyone. So everyone's on the same like wavelength. Whereas if you're pulling in too many people from outside, well, they might be smart, but they're not really going to mesh as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not straight away. But also they probably might be stuck in their ways with certain things. Well,
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing this way for 10 years at X racing, you know, and then they don't want to change their ways or they want to do things differently. So it's hard to sort of get that cohesion.
Yeah, you're like the New England Patriots of supercars. You let people go, but you don't bring many people in. Like everyone's from internal, which is, I suppose, the way to do it.
Well, I mean, we got desperate though. We needed a replacement for Couchy, so we brought Andrew Edwards on. Yeah, some things just need to happen quickly. So and we've promoted within as well, like Martin Short. He's now race engineering with Brock again, and that's really cool to see because they've started out as Super 2 and hold on, I'm just gonna. Yeah, they started out as Super 2, and then he was race engineering with him, and now they've both stepped themselves up to the top role. So I just think that's really kind of cool that how they've managed to sort of fuse that relationship and just bring it upwards.
Did he do the Bathurst race with Brock as well last year?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was so
impressed
with that whole weekend that he put together. Like I whenever a rookie comes in, I'm always like, I don't know if it's skeptical is the right word, but you're always like waiting to see. I think especially because I'd seen so much of like the hype around Fullwood when he came into Walk Control, and then it didn't really pan out for reasons. So I was sort of like, like we've seen so many drivers come in who are great in Super 2s, and is it just because he's in Triple 8 gear with that professionalism? But my gosh, like when I saw him at Bathurst, like, no, this kid's for real.
Yeah.
Like he was so poised, and I was so disappointed to see him sort of bin it right at the end. But like, that even that's such a awesome learning curve for him. So like, get that out of the way in your wildcard entry, because you'll learn so much for next year when you're in the main game. Yeah,
you're babbling again. I'm not interviewing you. Let's finish on this good question.
Sorry.
All he does is, I'm listening to him. He's babbling all the time. Just a babbler, bro. Serial babbler.
Hey, we're both babblers. I'm going to babble a lot.
Yeah, but we're interviewing you. I've got a question for you. Like, this is a good way to finish. I mean, you've given us a lot of your time, but you started off by talking about your journey to obviously Triple 8 and to supercars. But now at this stage in your life, etc., what are your ambitions moving forward, whether it be within the company, within the sport, or even do you have potentially eyes looking elsewhere in the future, back to Formula One or something like that?
Anything like pretty impressive, and any opportunity where I can continue growing and go forward. Like, I mean, like, I can spend the next 5 to 10 years here and still continue to grow, but if something really cool like an F1 opportunity would come up, or something in overseas motorsport would show up, particularly on a design basis, I would definitely like consider that and like be open to those sort of things. But for right now, like this year specifically, I've now have the opportunity to work full time doing design work. So last year I was sort of balancing design work, admin work, and also data engineering for Shane's car. So, and I sort of enjoyed doing all of it, but at the same time, when it comes to just designing, I just love it. There's something about it that's just like sort of fulfills like all of the things that I really enjoy, being able to be creative and design and see new things that you make come to life. It's pretty cool. Like in this building, you design something and then a couple of hours later, someone from the fabrication shop has, laser cut it and folded it and just shown it to you, and you're fitting it on the car.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about that which is, I just find that is so cool. And seeing that, like, your bit get bolted onto the car, and then you see the race car go around the track with parts that you made, I get the biggest kick out of that. So I want to keep doing that for now and just learning the ropes, because there's a lot of really, really good designers around me that I'm learning off. So I'm just a sponge. Trying to soak it all up.
So a race engineer for Premier Hire or Premier Racing in the future, not so much on the cards then?
Well,
is that a lot of data work? Sorry, like being a race engineer, is that a lot of data analysis?
You do. Yeah, definitely. Especially for like teams like my dad's now, it'll be a smaller team, so you're not going to have as many data engineers that are doing all the legwork for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, gotcha.
So if you were a race engineer, you'd probably be doing a fair chunk of data engineering as well, just in terms of analysis and post-race, analysis and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to write it off, because I still really did like doing like the data stuff too, but it was, at the time, it was too much to try and do it all. And as a beginner, like doing it, I just found look, I don't want to be the jack of all trades here. I'd like to just really have like something I'm quite specialized in, and then expand and continue to try other things. So could happen, especially because it's my dad's team as well. I'm always going to have like soft spot for it, and secretly want them to do really, really well. And I mean, like anyone would, like if it's your own dad who's spearheading it. So I'd like to think that maybe that could happen, but at the same time, I can also see myself leaving motorsport and also like exploring other engineering avenues as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about engineering too. Like, you saw how we built the ventilator.
You're not pigeonholed.
No, and it's really the science and engineering and the knowledge behind it. It's so transferable to every other industry, because it's just based on key fundamental principles of science and maths.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really cool, like how we sort of did show the role of we can also do this. At the core of it, we're an engineering company. We're not a racing company. We just happen to go racing.
Yeah. No, that's so cool.
That sounds like a good way to end it.
I think so.
Sounds like a good way to.
We'll clip that, and you can send it to all these career days when kids are asking what they want to do. You'll be like, become an engineer, build race cars and ventilators.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a weird time in my life, especially because the whole world is in lockdown, and especially at the time Australia was just really bolted down. There was no one working, and I lived in a share house at the time, and every single day I was leaving home and going to work, because we were considered an essential service designing medical device.
Yeah.
But it was also like the skeleton crew, because there's only 10 people here at work, where normally we've got 50 or so.
Yeah.
So it just felt so weird it was just, the world was quiet and asleep sort of thing, and we're still ticking away. But I don't know.
How many ventilators did you sell? Or was that just a hoax to get people to think you're making ventilators, but you're still working on developing the car? They made one ventilator.
I can show you them if you want me to.
No, it's all right.
It's what I mean.
We believe you.
I'm being a dickhead.
Yeah.
But James, mate, thanks so much for your time. That was really good. Really, really good. And it's, not easy staying back after work for another hour just to shoot this shit. So we really appreciate it, mate.
No, all good. I appreciate that you guys you thought I was worthy enough of your podcast.
Mate, that
story of getting that job was worthy enough of any podcast, I reckon.
Well, that's only half of it. You didn't even hear the rest of it.
Well, we got to get you at the end of the year to finish the story then.
Yeah, okay, all right.
This will be James Xiberras part 1.
Yeah, okay. Right. We'll do part 1, and then we'll do part 2 of where you hear the rest of it.
You're in a season I was trying to move quick because Joseph said he's only got half an hour. You've got to get all your questions in.
What has it been now? Has it been an hour?
Oh, I think we've done an hour.
Yeah, easy. Oh my goodness.
I think part 2 will be James Xiberras season review, and we'll try to see if we can get Peter Xiberras on for a cameo
season review,
just to tell us how Subway and Coca-Cola performed for them in the whole season.
Yeah, that'll be cool. We'll have maybe we could do father and son.
Mate, he did it. They did a good job.
Bring your dad to work day.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was awesome.
He was here today, actually.
Has he? This is a serious question. Has he looked to you for any advice, just with the development of the team and things like that, processes, structures?
Yeah, that's probably there's probably been little. I think usually he just sort of tells me what's going on, and then I sort of just have a look. I just key in my own input about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for him, he really just wants to find the right people, and so he would throw names at me of people that are looking for jobs that are in this world, because it's quite like a lot. Once you're sort of in this industry, you kind of know a lot of people. So he would sort of just throw names at me, like, what do you think of this person? And what do you think of that person? Because it's, for him, like for the last couple of weeks, it's just been like trying to get people. And, people are sort of half interested, but they're also skeptical. Is this team going to be a bit of a flop? Is it going to be?
Sorry to cut you off quickly. How much of the team is like ex-Team Sydney? Is there any ex-Team Sydney staff in there? Or
very little. Yeah,
very little.
It was mostly a clean slate.
Okay,
but he retained a couple of people that were just, he really, really liked what they did and respected them, and I just, they had, like, for example, the truck driver is still with us, and he's been with Techno since they started racing a decade ago. So there's still some people that are left, but it's really, I think he really wants to sort of in trying to get rid of the stigma that Techno had at the end of like their life. He wants to sort of wipe that away, and I think the people take those people away with it and start fresh. And just you start with a blank canvas.
Well, I suppose as well, like there's a blueprint out there. Like you've seen like teams like Team 18 come in, and even like Xiberas, and they come in and like it's possible to do the great job. It's just like what you're saying, like you need to build that environment from the start and not sort of have it polluted by people's sort of ways of thinking already.
I'm pretty sure that Xiberas even did that, because I think they were based in Queensland years and years ago. And then so part of the way that they could sort of clean the slate is to relocate
to Melbourne.
Yeah.
And is that why your dad moved? Like, is that part of the reason why they moved the operations to Queensland as well? Or is that more just to be close?
He actually wanted to stay in Sydney.
Oh,
he really wanted to. And I think it would have been good if he could have. But, look, to be honest, with every single other team being in Queensland and Melbourne, sorry, that's where all the people are. So you got to go where there's people, because it's too hard to find people in Sydney.
He wasn't interested in Albury?
I don't even know where that is, to be honest.
That's where BJR has their headquarters.
You must be beating Brad Jones Racing, mate. Come on. We're talking shit about other people's teams. They're not going to get other people on.
You might end up getting them on their podcast one day.
Yeah, I know.
For the wrong reasons.
And they were like, remember when you spoke to James about Aubrey? And they were like, we don't want to come on.
Yeah. I'm not going to work with them now, will I?
No, you gotta move overseas, mate. Anyway,
see what happens.
That was so good. Thanks so much for your time, James.
That's all right.
No, that's awesome.
We'll tee up we have to tee up the review part 2.
Yeah, the review. We can do like a 2022 post review and the introduction of the Camaro, I suppose, at that point.
I'd like to start at, how do you feel about Walkinshaw and Mostert winning the championship this year? But
Shut up, you dickhead.
Thank you very much, James. That was really good.
Okay.
Good night.